Hello, and welcome back to a call where we talk about it all. Motherhood, friendship, mental health, community, identity, nothing is off the table here. It's all in our heart and it belongs in the space. Today's episode is really special because we're diving into something every parent deals with. Whether we admit it or not, our kids have big emotions, and so do we. And I'm not alone today. I am joined by someone incredible. She has over 20 years of experience working with children. She's a marriage and family therapist, and she specializes in helping kids with ADHD, big feelings, and behavioral challenges. She also runs a private parenting group and has this warm, grounded, gentle approach that I just know you're going to love. Please help me welcome Yocheved. Yocheved, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I am super excited to be here.
I am so excited, and actually, it was a very funny way that we met. And this is why, in a sense, I love social media. We have been following each other for a little bit, for actually, no, not a little bit, for a while, I think. And I just remember like scrolling past stories and thinking every time you posted a story, because if you don't know, Yocheved posts amazing, like little tidbits and little quotes and little videos about parenting and about keeping it cool, gentle parenting things. And every time I'd see it, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And also, I feel like every time I saw it, it was something that I really needed to hear. And I actually had no idea that you were a therapist. Absolutely no idea. And then we connected. By the way, I'm a therapist. And I'm like, no way. That make like everything now kind of makes sense. Like this is why you post these things and everything. So I'm really, really excited to have you. And okay, like, do you want to give a little bit of an introduction for yourself?
Absolutely. So, I'm super excited to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is parenting. I'm extremely passionate about helping parents build closer and stronger relationships with their children and just to build those meaningful connections that they can have for a lifetime.
Amazing.
So, I have over 20 years of experience working with children in a classroom setting. I recently became a marriage and family therapist, and I currently work with children who struggle with ADHD, behavioral challenges, and I also work in addiction.
Okay.
So, I have a little bit of everything under my belt. I also do run private parenting groups. I do not do public parenting groups because I do feel that every child has different needs, and I want to be able to cater to each child individually.
That's amazing. So you get one on one with the parents.
Yes.
Wow,
It
that's
is
really
90% parenting
nice.
and 10% child.
Mhm.
I know it's crazy to think of it like that because it's like, oh, the child is misbehaving, but it's really about us and how we respond in those moments.
Wow. Okay, so let's jump in. We're talking tantrums, emotional regulation, connection, guilt, and how to show up as a parent even when we're overwhelmed too. So, for everyone who's listening who might be new to your work, can you tell us a little bit about your approach and your background and kind of what led you to specialize in child behavior and gentle parenting?
Absolutely. So, my philosophy is rooted in gentle parenting, which does encompass both positive parenting and attachment parenting. So, positive parenting is focusing on mutual respect, emotional connection, and positive reinforcement. The attachment parenting piece is building a strong emotional foundation through physical closeness, responsiveness, and empathy. So, for example, when a child cries, instead of the old ways that we used to do things, such as putting them in their room or ignoring them. Now we're trying to understand and meet the underlying need because when we ignore it, we're really suppressing the emotion, but it doesn't go away. We're not dealing with it.
Right.
So we don't want to do that. We want to get to the bottom of it
Hmm.
and we want to acknowledge the child's feelings. It's very important.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you work with a lot of families dealing with ADHD, emotional dysregulation, and tough behaviors. I guess really one question is what do you wish every parent knew at the very, very beginning?
Parenting is hard.
Parenting is hard.
Um, I think it's about thinking before you have children
Mhm.
and making peace with the fact that it's not going to be the life we envision, but rather what we have in front of us. I always say, don't parent the child that you wish you had, parent the child in front of you.
I love that.
It's so true, though, because each child comes with their challenges, right?
Mhm.
And we want to tap into those challenges and bring out the best of that.
It's funny because as I am a triplet, and you so see that when you're born with two others with you. And even though you are born at the same time, you're the same age, you get parented the same way, you see it when you see how the behaviors are so different. And actually, the outcomes of each kid is so different, even if you were like treated the same, had everything the same. And it's just, yeah, it's really so crazy.
100%. Every child has their own personality. So I think
Yeah.
it's about embracing that personality instead of trying to change the child.
Hmm.
We welcome the child and their personality and we meet them with their needs, right?
Yeah.
We meet them where they're at, not where we wish they would be. Because it's
Right.
not about us, it's about them.
That's true. Now, I know so many moms listening feel pulled in a million direction when it comes to like children philosophy and how to do it. So you really do the gentle parenting attachment based approach. Like what does that actually mean in real life? Like I know like a lot of people the myth of it is that let your kid do whatever you want and you are kind of like the punching bag and if they misbehave you're lying down. That's the myth of it. Or that's like I guess when people don't like gentle parenting, that's what they say it is. So, what's like the realistic side of gentle parenting?
So that's not actually gentle parenting,
Hmm.
right? That's just passive, right? Letting your child do whatever they want. That's not parenting.
Right.
So
Right.
when we're talking about parenting, look, parenting did change quite a bit over the last few years. I think cultural shifts, technology, and we have more mental health awareness.
Yes.
I think today we're much more attuned with our child's emotional needs instead of relying on discipline, punishment, or obedience. I think there's more of an emphasis on connection, empathy, and communication. And I think approaches like gentle parenting, positive parenting, or conscious parenting have become mainstream.
Hmm.
So these methods basically emphasize understanding behavior as communication,
Yeah.
setting boundaries, but doing it with compassion and teaching emotional regulation. So instead of punishing, we're connecting,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
We don't want to punish a behavior because that doesn't really solve the problem. We
Right.
want to connect, we want to understand. So I think parents are more educated about, topics like ADHD, anxiety, trauma, and sensory needs. And I think there's less shame around therapy now, also, and more focusing on emotional health instead of waiting for like crisis, you know, situations to turn up. I say like gentle parenting goes hand in hand again with attachment parenting. It's about connection. It is so important to have that piece because that is the foundation for a child's blueprint for life,
Hmm.
for their adult relationships, for their friendships,
Right.
for everything.
Yeah.
So it really starts in childhood. And that's why I'm so adamant about speaking about this topic and
Yes.
about helping parents to understand that.
Right. So, gentle parenting, boundaries, connection, those two things.
Yes.
And I mean, I know obviously like everyone, like you see those little memes on Instagram with like gentle parenting and like you just see like kids running all over them. Like that is not the right approach. That is not gentle parenting.
No, gentle
Hmm.
parenting is about handling situations in a gentle manner.
So that's it. So it really, in a sense, gentle parenting is really in a way of the parents handling a situation. It's not the way you kind of just let the kid go all out.
Right.
Connection, emotional regulation, and boundaries.
Hmm.
Those three.
Yes,
That's the core value of gentle parenting.
absolutely. Kids need boundaries,
Yes.
but they also need validation and empathy with the boundary,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
I always say you can say no, but there's a way to say no.
Right.
The same way when we speak to adults. If I were to say no, I can do it in a nice way or a
Or,
not nice way,
right.
right? We can still be kind when we set boundaries.
And it's funny because I feel like with kiddos, it's so much easier just to snap no,
Right.
especially with that old saying of like, because I said so,
Right.
like,
But what
no,
does that
because I
really
said
mean
so.
to a child because I said so? They have no idea what that means.
Right. Right.
Look, at the end of the day, kids are still human beings.
I
And
understand.
even though they're little,
Mhm.
they still deserve respect
100%.
and they still deserve an explanation.
Yeah, I find that the old generation has a little bit of trouble over the fact that like obviously I don't want to say this in an offensive way, but like the fact that kids deserve respect. I feel like the old generation doesn't see it like that at all. In the sense of like I'm always right, kids are always wrong. The kids always have to be nice to the older people. They can never put a boundary up. Actually, I was talking to someone recently. Oh man, I'm so sad that I can't give her a shout out because she told me something and I was mind blown. I was mind blown. She was saying how when her child says something like, "Oh yeah, I didn't like that person," or "that person was mean," or something like that, instead of immediately, which I know I do, and I was like, that really was like, whoa. Instead of saying, "Wait, don't speak like that." No, she's so nice. She is so nice. Instead, she like leaned into the emotion. She said, "Why? Why do you feel that? Why do you think that? What did this person do that made you feel this way?" And she said it was really to really connect her child with her child's inner voice and have them then confident with how, oh, it was Renat. I'm giving Renat shout out because it was you. And I was floored um, when she told me that, yeah, it was her son who said, um, they had an interaction with someone and he said something like, yeah, I didn't like that person. And really, instead of squashing it, she leaned in and spoke about it and spoke it through. And it was such like an important moment for me to see because I was like, oh, wow. Like, yes, we should be teaching our children to listen to their inner voice. And when someone doesn't either seem safe or feel safe to them, to actually listen to that. And even if it's wrong, it could be wrong. It could be that something happened and they are wrong about that person because you've known that person their whole life. It could be, but to cultivate it, because when they're teenagers and when they're adults, that like instinct will actually save them. It will really save them from a lot of situations, especially boys and especially during the teenage years. So like I love that.
100%. And we also never want to invalidate a child's experience, right? Even if we know a person their whole life,
Right.
when a child says, I feel a certain way, we have to respect that feeling the same way we want respect, right? If
Right.
I feel uncomfortable, I don't want someone to tell me, get over it, or it doesn't matter how you feel, or making me feel that way, right?
Right.
And that does build confidence and a stronger relationship when you do validate and you do respect your child's feelings. And it also prevents a lot of abuse from happening behind closed doors.
That's for sure.
100% that
And
does.
I know I'm going on like a little bit of a tangents because I feel like these are just opening doors because I think a huge, I guess, question, and I actually had this question when I was like pregnant with my first. It was like, oh, what would we do? Let's say if a grandparent wants a hug or a kiss or whatever, and then your child doesn't want it. And it's funny, like I was so into like, so they won't get it and too bad, so sad, know? And that was like really my philosophy. And obviously, my husband's philosophy, especially because we live here and we live with his parents, he's like, well, we can't just not have that all the time. Obviously, we have found a middle ground, but what, like, I guess, as in a sense, from a therapist perspective, like, what would you say to parents who want to really like put their foot down of like, listen, mom, dad, um, Bubby and Zadie, if my kid doesn't want to hug you, like you have to respect that. And I know for a fact, I'm sure all Bubby and Zadie's and all Saba and Saptas will just look at that and be like, you're nuts. What, like, I guess, what would you say to the parents to kind of like help them maybe explain to the grandparents something like that? Or is it something where sometimes we should let it happen and sometimes we just have to like force the kid into a hug and
So I don't believe in forcing children ever. I
Mhm.
also wouldn't say they don't want to hug you because then you're making it about them. And it's not about the grandparents, right? If they
Right.
don't want to hug them, we don't need to out the grandparents. We can just say they don't want to hug right now, and that's
Right.
okay. And you can educate them. I always say it's an opportunity to educate and teach our parents or grandparents that we are in a different generation of learning how to respect our child's autonomy
Right.
and giving them that choice of what they choose to do with their bodies.
Yeah.
We never want to force it though, because that will backfire. And that also, God forbid, later on, and I never say that, point fingers or say anything, out of the blue, but it does take something away from the child when we do force them
Right.
to do that. It takes away their freedom of their own autonomy. It really does. And
Yeah.
it does affect them later on.
And then what, I guess, would you say to, let's say, someone who did that, they changed their perspective because that's I think, really a great way to change it. It's not you're the problem. It's like, no, she just doesn't want a hug right now. But let's say you have a parent or a grandparent or a cousin or whatever who's just like scuffs at you and says, you're being silly, stop. And then like they go in for a hug. Like, do you think now as a parent, I mean, even I'm thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, as a parent, like you should just step in and be like, listen, my kid does not want this.
So it's tricky, right? Because we
Yes.
never want to insult the other person.
Right.
But I would absolutely step in
Mm,
and protect my child because as a parent, that's my role.
right. Yeah.
I think there's a kind and calm way of doing it. And again, reiterating that it's not about the parent.
Hmm.
And this is where the child is holding right now, and just saying this is what she needs right now. And she absolutely loves you and would love to hug you. And when she's ready, she will.
I love that.
It's never personal.
I know it's so hard though, because everyone takes everything so personal.
Right. And unfortunately, people are carrying their own baggage,
Right.
and it comes into play when we see these dynamics.
Hmm.
But we can't fix other people's problems for them. And I always say
I
that.
love that. That's true.
Yep.
We really can't.
So we just have to be kind and
Yeah.
mindful and supportive. And again, I avoid the you statements. It's more you and the person against the problem
Right.
instead of making it the person as the target or the problem.
Right. And then I guess this really could tie in really nicely to emotional regulation.
Yes.
And I know we talk about that a lot, but in simple language, how would you describe emotional regulation?
So, emotional regulation is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotions in a healthy way,
Hmm.
right? In a constructive way. So, it doesn't mean ignoring your feelings, it means noticing them, understanding why they're happening,
Yeah.
and responding thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively, right? Instead of reacting when you're angry, it's pausing, calming yourself down, whether it's counting to 10, taking deep breaths, walking away, and thinking how you really want to react and respond to the situation that you're in. Because a lot of us carry around triggers and wounds, and we react from that
Yeah.
instead of reacting from the situation. This is, by the way, one of the most important skills that we can develop, and it grows stronger as we practice it more. I do this with a lot of adult clients. Emotional regulation really helps children and adults handle stress, frustration, and disappointment. And we have that throughout life, right?
Yeah.
It also improves relationships, communication, supports mental health, and it really builds resilience, especially in children. That's why it's also very important that when a child is having a tantrum, we control ourselves. Our goal is not to control the child, it is only to control ourselves.
Yeah.
So
So
I think
if
that's a big piece.
it's a huge piece, and let's say a parent wants to start building these skills in their own home, like where do they begin? Should they be going to therapy? Is it something you could do alone with yourself? What do you say?
So I'm a big advocate for therapy because I
Hmm.
think everyone deserves a safe space and support.
Yeah.
DBT is really wonderful.
What is
It's
DBT?
dialectal behavioral therapy. It
Okay.
teaches you mindfulness and to be more in touch with how you're feeling, your emotions, being in the moment, calming, regulation, skills like that.
Would you know, are there books for DBTs, or it's really like all of this is really like, oh, you have to go see someone, see a specialist?
So you
What
don't
is
have
that?
to go see someone. I mean, there are plenty of books on DBT. There's also DBT for children.
Hmm. Okay. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I can send you a link of books if you'd like.
Honestly, that would be
Sure. We
amazing.
can post that.
We can totally post that link that so everyone can see that because that's very, very important.
Yeah.
Yes. And now, so I want to dive in a little bit to emotional regulation because I know as a parent, sometimes it feels almost impossible, especially when like danger zones come in, So let's say I'm going to give a perfect example because I know this happened a few times and oh my gosh, my heart down to the floor. Let's say your child runs into the street. They run into the street. And you know what's so funny? I feel like, especially, I mean, this is always what I was taught. I was always taught if a child, let's say, like runs into a pool or runs into the street or puts their hand in an electric socket thing, like immediately all you do is you give them a punch or you give them a slap. Like that is what we were like kind of taught in gentle parenting. That is not what you're supposed to do. But in that sense, as a therapist for that, what would you say for parents who A think it's like totally fine, Um, and I have to say I am guilty. That for sure happened once. And I just remember everything stopping. And I was like running after Malka. And I remember even yelling, like, because there was someone like next to the street. So I was like yelling, like, stop there, stop her. But obviously, unfortunately, no one did. So once I grabbed her, it was like such an immediate reaction that I couldn't, I felt like I couldn't stop myself. I probably could have if I like took a deep breath, but I just felt like I couldn't stop. And like I immediately gave like a slap on the wrist, like immediately.
You went into panic mode.
At complete,
Yeah.
even talking about it, I'm like getting red because I'm like, that was so scary.
It really is so
So
scary because we know it takes a second, God forbid.
Exactly, especially in like we LA. In
Mhm.
LA, like first of all, people are nuts. The driving is crazy, but like there's always a car.
Yeah.
There's never not a car.
So here's what I say, right?
Yeah.
What's done is done, and we
Mhm.
don't have to punish ourselves or put ourselves more down. I
Yeah.
think we have so much guilt as it is.
Right.
And I think it's not about having guilt, it's about just doing better moving forward,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So it's the same thing we tell children, right? Okay, you'll do better next time, right? We push them forward.
Mhm.
We build them up. So it's the same thing with parenting. We do make mistakes, but the beauty is that we get to learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect, myself included. I am not the same parent that I was 16 years ago.
Right.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Um, Here's the thing with hitting, right?
Mhm.
Hitting only reinforces the behavior and it teaches them to hit, and it also causes way more aggression in children. Hitting really, if I hit you, then I can't tell you not to hit because
Right.
then what message am I sending? I get it when a kid runs in the street, God forbid, we panic, we freak out. It's really scary. But the truth is, it's our issue and we're putting it onto our kids because
Mhm.
we as the adult are responsible for the little person who's not yet aware that the street is dangerous.
Right.
So if we let go, that's on us.
Yeah.
Of course, hitting out of panic, I totally understand that. Um, and that's why I always say, like, just our brains just go into fight, flight, or freeze, right? And you
Right.
went into like flight, you ran, you like didn't know what to do, and
Yeah.
you were scared for your life because God forbid,
A hundred
like I said,
percent.
it takes a second. It is very scary, but the thing is, hitting doesn't help the situation. It also doesn't teach them the
Right.
skill that they need.
Right.
That's the thing. We're hitting, but what are we teaching them? What does hitting teach them? It
I feel
doesn't
like
give them the
nothing.
message that you're safe or that that's dangerous. It
Right.
teaches them that mommy is scary.
Right.
And I can't
Right.
tell mommy that, or I can't show mommy that because she's going to hurt me
Mhm.
if I'm honest about something. And that builds up from later on. That's why I always say hitting is not a skill that we want to ever like teach or use. And
Right.
again, it's not to feel bad about the past. I'm not a perfect parent either. I have shouted plenty.
Right.
I have lost it plenty. Parenting is a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
I always say it is the most challenging bracha in our lives.
I
That's
like
the
that
way
perspective. I
that's the way I
really
phrase
like
it.
that. I think it's an amazing perspective to have because, in a sense, it is the most challenging thing we do, but it is such a bracha.
Yeah.
And there are so many people who would actually give up everything to have this challenge in their life. So that's really, really beautiful.
It allows us to grow and to do better. It really makes us up our game, so to speak, right?
Yeah. So let's keep going to like some of the hardest part in parenting, and that is tantrums. Because this is where we all start questioning our lives, especially when it happens in public. There's a tantrum, and you're just sitting there, and you're like, how do I stop this? And especially if you're in public, you think, how do I stop this immediately? I think it takes actually, I will shout out my sister in law, Khasya. She is phenomenal when it comes to tantruming, especially in public. She is so cool, so calm, so collective. And I just look at her and I'm like, huh, you're crazy. And it's amazing and it's phenomenal. But help us, help us. What do we do with tantrums?
So we don't do much. We offer a lot of wiggle room, a lot of space, a lot of empathy, love, and we don't try to stop a tantrum. So when a child acts out, it's not because they're bad or defiant. It's their way of expressing strong emotions they don't have yet the skills to manage, right?
Right.
It's a skill. Do you know how many adults have tantrums? They don't have the
Right.
skills either. So, how do we expect
Right.
children to regulate their emotions, right?
Right.
Tantrums usually come from overwhelming feelings, frustration, fear, sadness. It could be even exhaustion, and they are limited in their ability to regulate. I mean, you've heard of hanger before,
Oh,
right?
girl, I
How
get
many of us?
hangry probably like a few times a week.
Yeah. So, like how much more so for a little person who can't regulate themselves? Look, self regulation is a skill children develop over time. It only works if you're supported by a calm adult who's responsive in helping their child with these emotions, which means that we have to provide calmness,
Calmness.
comfort, guidance, and we have to model what healthy coping strategies look like, right? If we're losing it and they're losing it, who's the adult in the room?
Right. Right.
It's really, I know it's really harsh to say that, and I don't mean to come off as harsh, but it really is eye opening, right? Like,
When you think it like that, yes, for sure.
that's why I always say don't punish a tantrum, don't suppress their feelings. We need to teach them. Suppressing it doesn't teach them anything, hitting doesn't teach them anything. We want to teach them a skill for life.
So true. But then I know for myself, it gets so hard when we're in public. It gets so hard. When I'm in public and there's a tantrum happening, and first of all, you just feel all eyes on you, like immediately. And it's just like one of the hardest things to do. And by the way, I know even when I'm home alone, I don't know why for me, when I think to myself, like, okay, let me just ignore it. There's also a part of me that's like, wait, is that mean to do? Is that mean for me to like ignore a tantrum? So it's
So there are
hard.
so many pieces here, right?
Yes.
Like sometimes we don't want to entertain certain behaviors,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, we need to validate it in order for the child to feel seen and heard.
Right.
So my question to you would be from for the public
Yeah.
perspective and tantrum, what bothers you about a child having a tantrum in public when it is age appropriate?
Right. So
How old
that's
is your daughter?
she's 3.
Okay,
So
so
she's still little.
what is the embarrassment for you is where I'm trying to understand.
100%. Well, the embarrassment is really like, first of all, you're in public and there's everyone around you and they're all watching and they're all like, "Oh, you can't you can't handle your child," or it's like I guess like inconveniencing the world around you. It's like like everyone just gets so mad these days. I feel like it's so funny like even though everyone has kids, when you're out in public, and you know what, maybe it's different in New York and in LA, because LA, I feel like you don't see kids much. But like when you're out and about in LA, you just feel so like everyone is judging you. Everyone is thinking like, "Oh, this parent can't parent their kids." Everyone is thinking like, "Man, this kid's crazy," and their parents just letting them loose. And I know for myself, I get all like, "Wait, no, wait, this is not us. This is not us."
So here's the thing, we have an opportunity to change the culture, right? And we
Right.
play a role in that. And I think by us showing up calm when our kid is having that tantrum in public allows people to see what emotional regulation looks like.
Right.
So
Yes,
we can look at
true.
it from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of adults are not emotionally regulated, and everybody has their own thing going on. Everyone is dealing is battling something we don't see.
Right.
I don't worry too much about what other people think when a child is having a tantrum because my focus is how do I support this child in the moment? I'm not looking at what
Mhm.
other people are looking at. I'm looking at this beautiful small human being who needs love and support, not if someone's judging me because they don't know me, they don't know my child.
Right. So that's a great mind shift change in a sense,
If
because you're
we're going
right.
to live our lives worrying what other people think of us, we're not really living.
Right. That's true. And you know what? I know I'm a people pleaser, so that definitely ties in
100%.
because you're so right. And also in a sense, like you're so right. Who cares what they think? Like you're not taking them home, you know?
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's either you're going to connect with your child
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to make things worse. Not you, meaning
No, no, of course
them.
the parents. Yeah, for sure.
When we don't handle situations in a kind, loving, empathetic manner, we are slowly pushing our child away. And the
Right.
goal is to connect.
Yeah.
So that's where, I always say that's where my parenting strategy comes from. And
Mhm.
that's where I'm all about how do we meet the child in front of us?
Right.
It goes back to that, offering them guidance, support, and safety.
Yeah.
And really, it doesn't matter what other people think because you're creating a relationship.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
And it's a very important goal.
100%.
But let's go back now to if I'm home and there's a tantrum happening. I don't know why I always just feel so bad being like, okay, ignore it and walk away. I don't know why. But
Well,
then if I
what are you
stay there,
ignoring?
right, I don't know. I can't think of one right now. But let's think there's a huge tantrum. So if I'm actually sound of mind and I know that if I stay here, I will get so triggered and I walk away, there's also that part of me that feels so bad walking away because then I feel like I'm totally dismissing her, like dismissing my baby. Like I feel like I'm totally like just letting her cry it out. But like, are you allowed to kind of let her cry it out? Would make
So,
sense?
first of all, how old is your baby?
Sorry, no, I meant my baby, like my toddler,
Oh,
because
okay.
my baby doesn't do tantrums just
There's
yet.
nothing wrong with walking away
Mhm.
as part of regulating yourself,
Mhm.
and nothing will happen. It's worse to stay and yell.
That's for sure. Because
It is so
oh
much better to walk away, control yourself, take space, take time. She will be okay. You will
yeah.
come back and you will give her the nurture that she needs
Mhm.
and the validation that she needs.
So I like that. It's not just walking away. It's walking away, regulating yourself, and then coming back to the situation.
Yeah, it's repairing,
It's
right?
repairing.
You're not ignoring your child.
Right.
You're taking care of you because if you don't take care of you first, you can't take care of them in the right way.
Right. Right. And it's so hard. By the way,
Extremely.
like whoever's listening, like this is not easy. This will take a lot of work.
When my
Right?
son, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
When my son was little, I didn't, I don't use the word punish. I don't agree with punishment. I think it's very harsh.
Yeah.
But instead of putting him in his room, because I didn't want him to associate his room with a consequence, I would put myself in my room and I would
Oh,
give myself a time in
oh wait, I kind of love that.
because I needed to regulate myself.
Wait, I kind of love that. Can we talk more about that? Like
Yeah.
how did that look? How did that work? Was your son okay with that? Or like did he just like try to follow you?
He
You
could
know?
try to follow me and that's fine, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say either I'm in the restroom or I need to take care of something. I'll be right back. I never just left.
Right,
I
right.
told him what I'm doing.
Okay.
I let him know again, respect, right?
Yeah.
Letting him know so that he's not scared and he doesn't think I just disappeared on him.
Yeah.
But I absolutely would go in my room and close the door and take a breather.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was the bathroom.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you need.
It's
Why?
wherever you have a safe space.
Right.
100%.
100%. Wow, I love, love, love that. So now that we're kind of done with tantrums, there's always the second situation after the tantrums. There's either the part where the tantrum happens and you walk away, or the tantrum happens and then you go and repair. And I know for myself, I did grow up a little bit like, oh, parents are always right. Even if they're wrong, they're kind of right. I know for myself with my daughter, it's actually kind of laughable how many times I like go back to her and I'm like, I'm so sorry I did XYZ. And it's actually very cute. It's really cute to see because now she goes, like, if it happens, she'll go, it's okay, mommy. We'll do better next time. And it's adorable and so cute and adorable. So I want to hear, I guess, from your perspective. We need to I think we need to say goodbye to the old of parents are always right. Do not, do not correct us, XYZ, and the repairing.
So that's the ego talking, right? Parents
Mhm.
are always right. Parents are not always right. Many
Right.
times parents are almost always wrong. And that's the thing. They get very triggered when kids call them out because they don't want to be seen as weak, but really strength comes from admitting our faults.
Right.
Kids need to see that we're human. We are modeling what human behavior should look like.
Mhm.
And when we take accountability and apologize and own our part, we are teaching them to do the same. We can't tell a child to apologize if we don't know how to apologize ourselves.
Right.
A lot of adults struggle to apologize. Their ego gets in the way. They think they're better than everyone.
Yeah.
But in reality, they're inside it's weakness
Mhm.
because it takes much more strength to admit you did something wrong. And how beautiful and vulnerable and stronger the relationship can get when we take accountability, when we say to our child, I didn't mean to hurt you, I'm sorry,
Right.
and not doing it again.
Ooh, that's a big
Understand.
part. The big part, I think, right, is not doing it again.
Well,
Or
yeah.
trying really hard not to. I know
Well,
it's
here's
hard,
the
but
thing, right? What does I'm sorry mean if we keep repeating it?
ooh, ooh,
It's
ooh,
empty
ooh.
words.
That's good.
I'm sorry is a changed behavior in my book.
Right.
If you keep doing it, that's not sorry.
Yeah.
If I keep hitting you and saying sorry, eventually the sorry is meaningless.
Ooh, I like that because this is true.
It is true, but I want to talk about repair because it's actually more important than the actual tantrum and the
Mm,
actual screaming. Repair is bigger than anything ever
okay.
in my book because it is the blueprint of how your children will respond also after. Exactly. So we all lose our cool, right? We're human beings. But the first step is to take a breath and calm ourselves. Step away, like I said, if you need to regulate, and then reconnect with your child. And that means taking accountability and apologizing. Acknowledge what happened, letting them know that they're safe and loved. And the most important thing is to not blame them for your reaction, right? Well, you made
Mm.
mommy do it.
Ooh, that's
There's no
huge.
blaming another person for our behavior.
Right.
Nobody made you do anything. You chose to do that. That is on you.
Wow.
I say that
Okay.
about myself too. If I lose it, that is on me
Right.
because I am an adult, let alone a child, right?
Right.
Still learning their emotions and learning to regulate. But if I blame my child for dysregulating me, that's
Mm.
a me problem. That is not the child's responsibility ever.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Right. That's so true.
Yeah. I think a lot of adults do struggle with accountability and apologizing because,
Mhm.
again, like I said, it's a deep shame, but avoiding it only causes more harm to the relationship. We have to show children what it looks like to repair, right? It teaches them responsibility, accountability, resilience, but it also teaches them compassion. And really, at the end of the day, we're human beings and they need to see that we're human beings and that mistakes aren't bad. It's an opportunity to learn and become healthier and better and stronger people.
Right. And this is a little bit of a tangent because obviously, once you have a toddler and they're doing play dates and all of that, and like, let's say something happens, someone steals a toy, someone by mistake gets hurt, something happens. Like, the question is now, do we say to the child, like, go say sorry?
I don't do that.
You don't do that. Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's about asking questions like, oh, that must have hurt. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Ah,
they
okay.
don't know what the word sorry really means. We need to teach them what sorry looks like,
Okay.
which means empathy and caring. Are you
Mm-hmm.
okay?
So
Like when I
having the
used to work in
child,
a classroom with
yes.
little kids and kids, they're impulsive. They hit, they push, they do all that stuff. They take toys. It's acknowledging the child that got hurt, asking them if they're okay, asking them what I can do to make them feel better,
Yeah.
or showing the child, hey, the other child might need a hug. Let's see if
Mm-hmm.
they need a hug. Let's see what we can do to make them feel better.
Okay.
It's about that.
Yeah.
That's teaching them what sorry really means. Sorry is just a word. What does that mean?
Yeah. So I feel like that's really hard because sometimes, especially when you're with people who like you are not so close with and whatever, you're as a parent, I think they like more demand like your child should say sorry.
Right.
But
And
what
I
do you
think it's
do?
very hard when you're in that dynamic, but I
Yeah.
think also we have an opportunity if your child did do something wrong, let's just say,
Yeah.
it's even if they're not willing to say sorry, because even if we force a kid to say sorry, they might not say it.
Of course.
So
Right.
it's just about us modeling what that looks like. So if, let's say, I'm going to use my son as an example, even though he's much bigger. When he was little, he wouldn't say sorry. So I would show him what that looks like. I'm modeling it and
Right.
saying, hey, are you okay? Can I offer you a hug?
Yeah.
That must have hurt.
Oh, that's really nice. Because I know for my daughter, I've like said sorry sometimes.
Right.
Like I went, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. You know what I mean?
I
So,
apologize all the time.
right.
And I always tell my son, if I do something wrong and something that you don't like, please tell me because I'm not aware. Because I would never actively
Right.
try to hurt you. And he's older now. So he'll tell me, hey,
Yeah.
Emma, I did not like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you for telling me. I will not do that again.
Right.
I will be more aware.
I actually have like this, I'm like so embarrassed about this story, but a story that just happened. So I'm going to say it because it was really funny and really not funny at the same time. But what happened was that I was getting my wig done and we were just waiting for it because it was going to be done in like probably 10, 15 minutes. So I was waiting and my daughter was with me. And she ended up sitting on the salon chair, and it was super cute. It was adorable. And me and the person who was doing my wig, we were talking, and like she just like grabbed an ironer, and like I know her personally, so I didn't think about it, but she grabbed an iron and she was like, "Oh my gosh, it would be so cute if we ironed her hair." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so right." So we like never, we did not ask, we did not anything. We just started. Oh my god, like we just started ironing my poor daughter's hair, and she was like silent as a mouse. So I was like, we were talking back and forth, whatever. And we got like a few pieces done. And then I look in the mirror and I immediately see like eyes as big as saucers, silent as a mouse. And immediately I go, Malka, are you okay? Is this okay? And she's just like quiet. So obviously the girl like stops and we just like both are looking and we're like, Malka, like, can we do this? Is this okay? And thank God she actually had she felt confident enough to be like, no, I don't want this.
I love that she's
So I know I was so happy. It made me so happy. Obviously, we both profusely apologized. We were like, "We're so sorry, Mark. I cannot believe it." Like, it was just one of those moments as a parent that you're like, "Whoopsie daisies!" Like they're real human beings and they are not dolls, and you can't just go and iron their hair. And like I didn't even think about asking because I don't know, like she was so excited to be on the chair and she was so excited to like have her hair brushed and she was so excited to like have a ponytail in it. So I didn't think like, oh, maybe she won't be excited to iron her hair. It was so sad and so funny, but I was so thankful that she like felt confident and like she felt fine being like, and especially fine with another adult there to be like, no, I don't want this,
But I think it's
you
also
know?
beautiful. And I always say this, if we don't go through these things, we can't grow.
Right.
I
Right.
think it's beautiful that you had that experience with her and also that she saw, oh, I'm acknowledging you.
Mm.
Because if you just always just acknowledge, she doesn't see the other side. So I think there's a beauty in allowing her to see, hey, I did this without asking and now I'm asking because I realized that's not okay.
Right.
So I think it's
Right. Right.
actually
Right.
teaching a bigger lesson. And I think it's so beautiful.
Okay, good. Because let me tell you, I felt horrible the rest of the day. Obviously, she got over it so fast. Oh, me? Oh my God, of course. I felt so guilty. I was like, what kind of mother am I? It was so sad. Whatever. Obviously, she got over it.
Loving
She's
mom that
fine.
wanted to do her daughter's hair.
Okay, I'll take it. I like that perspective a lot. I really do.
I don't see it as a negative. I think it's so raw and beautiful that you stopped midway to ask her. I think that shows her that she matters and that her voice matters. So I see it as a beautiful lesson.
Okay, good. Because I like really the one big thing that I took from it is that like I was so happy that she like had her voice and used it and was like, no, no. And I'm like, and I think I said that. I remember saying to her a few times, like always like tell like I think I said something like, I'm so proud of you for telling me. Like I'm so happy you did. Because like
Yeah.
I would be so sad if she was like,
See,
like just like
that's
whatever.
also another skill you're teaching her confidence. A lot of
Right.
kids are not allowed to speak up, so they
Right.
don't have a say. So I think there's so much beauty in what you're teaching your child in allowing her to
Thank
have
you.
to give you pushback because pushback
Right.
is not chutzpah.
Right.
Oh, parents always go to the chutzpah. If they say one wrong thing, they're chutzpah. That's
Mm-hmm.
not chutzpah.
Yes. Right. It's true. And you know what? We're going to zoom out because I feel like I personally want to, like, I really want to parent in like a confident kid. I want my kid to grow up being confident. I do not want her to ever feel squashed or ever feel like she says something and then someone else like will say like, no, that's stupid. And immediately she'll be like, okay, that's stupid. Like, where does the resilience actually come from?
So it starts in the home,
Mm-hmm.
allowing our children to give us pushback,
Okay.
allowing our children to fail
Yes.
and letting them build confidence and resilience by doing that, right? By falling down and getting back up. I always use the analogy of a baby learning how to walk.
Mm-hmm.
So they walk, they fall down, but they always get back up. We don't tell them, oh, you fell down, stay down,
Oh, I like
right?
that. Yes,
We
true.
encourage them to get back up and to
Right.
continue. The same thing with children. But children should have a safe space at home
Yeah.
to disagree with you.
Right.
And if it sounds disrespectful, right? That's another conversation where we
Yeah.
can teach them how to argue respectfully, how to have a difference of opinion.
I
But
love
we
that.
should not make children agree with us
Right.
because we think one way. And I always say, if it's not harmful, children can have their own way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not harming anybody, let them have it their way. We
Right.
don't need to have control over them.
Right. I feel like that's a really hard
Yeah,
part.
absolutely. So I think, those are very important pieces. Like I said, it always starts in the home.
Yeah.
Children need to see disagreement in a respectful light.
And I love the way that you said, I guess to argue or push back in a respectful way, because we everyone knows an adult that the second you ag- argue with them or disagree with them, immediately defense, attack mode, like they just
Well,
don't
that's a
know how to argue.
dysregulated adult,
Right.
right? Because a regulated, emotionally healthy, non egotistical adult
Hmm.
will be okay with that.
Right.
It's only people who have other struggles and challenges, possibly personality disorders and whatnot, that
Right.
won't allow it. But a healthy, regulated adult will not take offense to that.
Right. And it all starts when they're really itty bitty little.
Yes, exactly.
And now that we're a little bit wrapping it up, I actually opened the floor up to some of the viewers to ask some questions. I asked on Instagram if anyone has any questions, and we got a few really good ones. I'm going to read three of them out here. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely. I love
Amazing.
questions.
Awesome. Awesome. So, this part of the segment, I love calling it Hako Loco because everything is always a little bit of loco, and we kind of sometimes need someone here to help us. So, today we have Yocheved, and I'm very excited. So, here is the first question. Hi, I am so excited. Okay, sorry. Oh, skip that
I
part.
loved it.
Okay, listen. Every morning, my 4-year-old acts like I told him we're moving to Antarctica when I say it's time for school. Shoes, socks, brushing teeth, everything is a fight and full blown screaming. I start calm, I end yelling, and then I spend the whole drive feeling like a monster. What do I actually do in the moment, and how do I stop every day from starting like a little battle scene?
So I always say think strategically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Connection over correction. So basically, we're getting down to their level. We're offering a choice. Do you want to brush your teeth first or do you want to put on your socks first? I also am a big fan of preparing the night before, creating a visual chart together.
Love that.
Yep, letting them know, let them be involved in the process. It empowers them.
Okay.
Yes. I also always say pick your battles. If it doesn't if it still doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
you need to calm yourself down and think structure. So offering to help them or just doing it if they refuse to cooperate. Listen, sometimes that might also be putting them in the car without shoes and having shoes go on in the carpool line. The goal is to not get overwhelmed and taken over by their chaos, but to offer our calm.
Right.
It's just I always say it's just socks, it's just shoes. This stage will pass.
Right.
Validating their emotions. I see you don't want to get dressed, but you can also turn it into a game, making it into a race. Who's going to brush their teeth first? You put on one sock, I put on the other. I think validation goes a long way. Don't talk too much though when they are losing it.
Yeah.
Remind yourself to breathe and just to
Right.
offer support. I think there are preventative measures that can look like I said, sleeping in clothing, even though it's not ideal for a parent, but we have to
Right.
learn to let go.
Right.
Stop trying to control. Do it my way or no way. No, we
Mm-hmm.
have to let go. When we parent, we cannot parent with our ego.
Right.
It doesn't work. So I think having them pick their clothes out, or if it's a uniform, having them put it out, you know, s-
Mm-hmm.
um, like I said, if it's an emergency situation and they're really, defiant, sleeping in clothing, put the shoes by the door, setting breakfast up, asking what they want, preparing the lunchbox the night before. And if they do all those things, rewarding them with extra story that night or
Mm.
something else that they like. I do not believe in punishment though, so I will
Right.
not tell you that if it backfires, do not punish them. I do
Right.
not agree with that approach. It is totally still age appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So punishing them is not fair because they don't have that skill yet. So you're
Right.
punishing them for something they don't have yet control over.
Mm. Love that.
Also know your child's needs and their personality. Like I always say, parent the child in front of you, not the child that you wanted in your imaginary head to have, right? The perfect
Right.
child, because that doesn't exist. And meeting them where they're at. Lower, lower, lower expectations.
That's huge.
Yes.
Yeah, the lower
And
expectations.
validate, validate, validate,
Mhm.
offering a hug.
Love that.
I think all of that.
I know it works for me a lot of times, especially let's say today, mitzvah notes.
Yes. Yes,
Mitzvah notes are
mitzvah notes are the
huge.
best.
They're the best. I love mitzvah notes.
But also, I have to add something, which is
Yeah.
very important. When a child earns a reward, we do not take it away from them. Even if they did
Mm-hmm.
something else wrong, they already
Okay.
earned that.
Okay.
Because if we take it away, then they see that they can't win no matter what.
Ooh, okay, that's huge.
Yes. So I
Right.
do see a lot of parents who have done that, even teachers, right?
Right.
In the classroom, it's like, oh, I'll give you the point, but if you talk one more time, I'm taking it away. I don't
Oh
believe in
no, I
taking it away.
knew that.
So no, it's fine. We've all done that. I've done it myself, but it
Yeah.
really sets them up for failure.
Right. Right.
So I think it's just about changing the approach, right?
100%.
Once they earn something, we don't
We don't.
take it away from them. They already earned it.
Yeah. Okay. I
I
love
think
that.
that's fair.
It's very fair. Second question. My daughter cries about everything. The cereal bowl is wrong, her friend looking at her funny, a bird flew away. I don't want to toughen her up, but I also don't want her to be crushed by every teeny thing. Ooh, ooh, that's huge.
So we can't toughen them up by being tougher on them. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't toughen children up. That actually instills more fear in them.
Mm,
So that's
no,
not how we toughen children up. The way we strengthen a child's insides is by validating them, teaching them to breathe, offering them a hug,
right.
even just sitting with them. How many times do we struggle and we don't want to hear somebody else? We just want them to sit with us for a few minutes.
I love that.
Showing up. I always say sensitivity is a strength because it also teaches children in their future to be thoughtful, kind, and sensitive
Right.
and empathetic to other people. So I do
Right.
believe that it is a beautiful midah to have,
To be sensitive.
to be sensitive
Yes.
and empathetic.
And
A
you
lot of
know,
people who are missing that are not able to show up for
right.
their spouse,
Oh, very
for
true.
their child, for their
But
parent.
I love what you said in the beginning. We can't toughen a child up if we're tough on them. And I find that a lot with dads and their sons. And I think that's like a huge conversation that's probably about for another time. But like, I feel like dads, when they have sons, especially if like there's a lot of girls, whatever, and then finally a son, they just, and their son is like a sweetie but tootie, whatever, like they try to toughen them up by being tough also. You
Right. And you
know?
know what happens? The
Mm-hmm.
child then suppresses their emotions and it comes out in anger.
Right.
I always say, and I work with male clients,
Yeah.
adult male clients, and I always ask them, like, what did you do with that anger you know, feeling that you suppressed, that anger or whatever? And they turn to, other things such as addiction and,
Right.
other
All
topics
different.
that we can talk about, like coping tools that were not very healthy.
Right.
Um, but you can't tell a child not to feel a feeling because
Mhm.
they were born with that.
Right.
Hashem created us to have these emotions and feelings. So telling a child to toughen up and not feel is
Right.
basically saying, please suppress your emotion. I'm not comfortable with it.
Right. And that goes back to the I am not comfortable,
Correct.
which is not how we should be looking at our children. Like,
Correct.
no.
Because when a child has a big emotion, our job is to with them with that emotion and let them know that they're safe
Right.
and create a safe space for them to have that emotion. Obviously, not if they're, hurting you or out of control, but we need to offer a safe space and all feelings are welcome. All
Right.
behaviors are not, but all feelings
Mm.
are welcome and we should acknowledge those feelings.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if I told you, Dassy, you're too emotional, I can't handle it. You got to shut that down.
I know already. I'm like, wait a second.
Exactly, right?
Immediately, I'm like, hold up.
Even though that
And even though I know this is a fake conversation that we're having, because obviously you'd never say that, but like immediately you're like, hold up. And then it makes you want to fight. You're like,
but
wait,
yet we're okay saying it to children.
I know it's so crazy
Yes,
because we see them as littles. Like we're like, no, they're not adults, but
and they are little, but they're still people
they're
and they're
still
still
people.
worthy and deserving of the same kindness, love, and respect that adults get.
100%. I love that. Okay, our third and final question. I feel like my toddler. I feel like my toddler runs the house. I know gentle parenting says to validate feelings, but when he's hitting me because I gave him the blue cup instead of the red one, I'm out of ideas. Is there a line between being understanding and letting the kids take over?
So, yes, I love this and I get this question a lot. Validate the feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but hold the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if they're using physical, I say violence, but it's not really, it's a
Right.
child. But
Just
if they're hurting, somebody, yourself included, you have to block the behavior. Like saying, I won't allow you to hit or hurt. It's not punishment. It's safety. So
Mhm.
safety is number one. I will not let you hit me. You can be upset and validate the feeling. I understand how you feel. It's really hard not to get what you want.
Right.
But I also think giving power and control when it's allowed. So
Okay.
if there is a blue cup and they got a red cup and they want the blue cup, you can give them that, but teach them how to ask for it, right? It's a
Mhm.
teachable moment, but also not saying if you scream, I'm not giving it to you. Like
Mhm.
that's not, I don't, that doesn't work. You
Mhm.
can say, oh, you want the red cup? Can you say, I want the red cup? And you can have the red cup. It's instead of telling them what they can't do, teach
Mhm.
them what they can do.
Ooh,
It's
okay. Love
very
that.
important. We always tell children what they can't do or what they
Right.
do wrong, but then they don't know what to do. We still haven't taught them a skill.
Right.
So what are they doing to replace that, right?
Mhm.
It's like telling a child, "No, you can't play with that." "No, not that either."
Right.
"That too, don't touch that." What are they supposed to do? They don't know. We have
Right.
to show them.
Wow.
We have to guide them in the right direction,
Right.
right?
And you know what? I know I'm going through 6,000 tangents, and this will be the last one. But you said like we always tell like kids what they're doing wrong, and you're so right because that just you just saying that reminded me like we should also be taking the time to tell them when they're doing right.
It should be
You know?
more about telling them what they're doing right.
Yeah.
As adults, right? Can you imagine if I kept telling you what you're doing wrong all day?
No, no, I literally would not be hanging out with you ever again. I'll be like,
Don't
goodbye.
do
Yeah.
that. Don't touch that.
Right.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
It's like everything you feel like you can't do anything right.
Yeah.
So can you imagine how a little person would feel if we
Right.
constantly tell them what they're doing wrong and that whatever they're doing isn't good enough? Our goal, our job, if we want healthy, emotionally regulated, stable adults to
Yeah.
show up in the world in a healthy way, we need to teach them and build them up. And that starts with confidence and giving them positive feedback and
Mhm.
allowing pushback and creating that safe space for them.
I love that. Now, if you could have one message, just a small message that you wish every mom listening could walk away with today, is there something that you would give?
Control yourself, not your child.
Love that. I love that. Thank you so much for being here today. This was incredible. And I know so many moms are going to feel lighter and more empowered after hearing this. And to everyone listening, you're doing better than you think. Every moment of connection counts. And hopefully, I'll see you next week. Thank you, Yocheved, so much.
Thank you for having me. This was a wonderful opportunity.
I loved it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.